All right, let's take a look at this. So someone was wanting to figure out how to pull Indeed profiles, and I've done most of this, I believe, already. Well, I've done most of it for another project that I built back in April, so we're just going to piece some things together here. So let's look at the API call when we page through, and that should look fetched like this. So let's write a little function, get search results, and that needs to be an async function. We are going to wait that fetch. We are going to get the JSON response, and we will log it and see what happens. There we go. We have our results. Now this just gives us kind of the high level stuff. We'll need to go in and dive a little deeper, right? Because this is just giving us the name, location, and the initial card item information, which is, you know, not bad. But I'm assuming we want more than that. So what we want is this out of this array. So we can IDs equals d dot. Let's use a newish feature in JavaScript called optional chaining. So basically we're going to say d. If that d is not null or undefined, then move along the chain. And the next thing we want to say is results. And same thing here, map. R will be the variable. We want the account key. And let's see what we get. There we go. Now we have all of our IDs. We have 600 results here. We want them all, not just those. So how do we get at them? Well, first thing I'm curious about is, do I need this stuff? I probably don't. I don't. Cool. Second question is, how do we know total results count? So I need to know that. So let's make another function, async function, loop through search results. I'm going to pull down this function that I'm using over here. This function just handles the fetch process for me. First, res wait, handle fetch, and it basically does some error handling. All right, and now I need to see what the comparison is with the URL versus this. So RPC looks like everything else is the same. I just need to append or splice in this RPC so I could say target replace that with RPC. That should work, right? And I want JSON back from this, so log. Cool. Yeah, that does work. All right, so now we get this back, right? And from there, I now know how many results I have here. And I'm assuming there's got to be a limit on how many of these you can return back, like on most sites, right? So probably can't loop through more than the first 1,000, maybe even the first 100. So let's give it a shot and see what we can do. So we'll say for let I is equal to 0 and I is less than URL equal the target, replace for now. Let's see, because if you're midway, oh, this is why you really shouldn't program in the console. I just lost. Oh, all right, I guess I didn't because I was pretty far along. I just lost that loop that I created. We'll go ahead and push through exactly what we need. And so that'll be start, and then whatever the I is. And the problem is if we don't already have that start piece there, which might be the case, we'll see momentarily. But for now, we'll just leave it as is. So we're going to get this back. And then we'll just say IDs equals, and then up here I'm going to say the same thing, but instead of that we're going to say first res, place that there, and then I'll just say IDs push, and then all IDs equals IDs flat. That'll flatten out for us. So we might want to put a little delay on this. So we'll put those up there. And we'll put a wait delay with a random of, I don't know, 1.2 to 2 seconds. No. I want to see what we can get away with. All right. And we don't need this anymore. So that's running. But it is not running correctly. So we probably got some repeating sequence here. every 50, so 51 is going to F7. Let's look and see what the requests were. Start 50 every time. Okay. I see it counting up. Why isn't it counting up here? Oh. Again, I'm tired. I've been programming all day. I'm just, you'll have to excuse me. I can't think straight. But anyway, we're good. And now let's just get like something to get our unique out of here. And I'll throw this up here because I might want to use it elsewhere. And I'll throw that in here, and we'll make that like so. All right, so then once we get those, then we can loop through and grab everything else, which, you know, will be fine because I've already done that part. So we're done with this piece of it. The only thing else that we need to do is we need something to flatten out the JSON when we're done. So as it stands now, this is what our result looks like. And so we have the additional information, but it's not in a format that we can translate into you know, a table, and I don't really have the energy to work on that just yet. So what I'm going to do for now is pull this over and allow people to download it as an array of these objects, right? And there are other tools out there that will flatten this stuff out just as is. So, you know, use one of those, I guess. Interesting. Highlighted words. That's not going to come through. But I like the way that works. It's pretty cool. So let's bring this over. This is a pretty simple function here. All right. And I'm going to pop this in here. And I'm going to get rid of this stuff because I'm not actually using it right now because I can't. There's some stuff I wanted to be able to clean up in there, but I just don't have the energy to mess with it right now, so I'm not going to. But all this stuff should work fine. And yeah, we'll get rid of that and that. We'll write one more function here. It's called loop through, or get all profile objects. We'll just return this. And then we'll call this down here, our ID. And then here we will pass through the ID, and then we're going to get this piece out and put in the ID. I'm going to leave the highlight out for now just because I don't feel like messing around with it, but that might be something we look at later. And then we get here, we await the IDs from there, and now we're going to do one more loop. And this loop's going to take quite a bit longer, right? You know. because we're calling each profile, and there's about 600 of them here, and we're probably going to wait about a second each, or more maybe. So profile equals await IDs and the current iteration. This is just generic container. I'm going to push each profile into. And finally, let's download it with this function. And we're just downloading it as JSON. Indeed, search. Oh, you know what? I've got a fun little function here laying around. Let me grab it out. Let's see. Here we go. Object equal, pass this through here, and we can say to give us the query. We'll get the timestamp just so it's unique. Get time. All right. Let's not run this whole thing just because I don't want to wait forever. It just says we're testing this out. So we'll run through 15 profiles, right? And hopefully this is going to be a sufficient delay for us as well. We can just reuse that. And then we'll put this there. Let's give it a run. See what, oh, oops, what did I do? Well, I don't feel like trying to sort that out right now, so we're just going to leave that off for now. And we will just do that. Oh, oops, there was nothing wrong with that. I just forgot to pass through an argument. So here is the output. And we'll look at it over here. All right, so here's the 15 profiles. Not bad, right? Not too bad at all. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we'd need to do. You know, we gotta fix some of this encoding stuff and, you know, flatten it out, but that's a good start, I think. Let me fix this real quick. So I just forgot to pass through the object. I just wasn't thinking. There we go. Yeah, it's working fine now. Cool. So yeah, I'm gonna save this and we'll be done for the night. And if I get time this weekend, I will write a script to flatten this out. What I'll do is again, this is if I have the time, but ideally I would make it like the LinkedIn one where you'd have the options to define what it was that you wanted to put in the fields. Like, so you want jobs, how many of those jobs do you want, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll do that another day.